Let's plunge now a bit more into the front pages this morning. Joining us is Connor Tomlinson, Policy Director at the British Conservation Alliance and Young Voices UK contributor. Good morning, Connor. How are you?
Good morning, Anna. How are you?
All good, all good. Right, let's talk about what's on the front pages of quite a number of newspapers this morning. As I said earlier, The Times was the only one to get the story about the US shooting that happened late last night, but elsewhere headlining windfall tax.
Yes, definitely. The Prime Minister seeming to come full circle when it came to Keir Starmer predicting this at the Prime Minister's questions previously, is going to institute the windfall tax after all to head off at the pass. It's due to be announced in July, but it's going to come into effect in October. The increase of the price off-gem pricing cap from £800 to £2,800, a pretty historic jump that a lot of families are not going to be able to cope with. So he seems to believe that taxing the record profits made by the oil and gas companies at this time will pay for a lot of this, though I remain sceptical. Personally.
Why do you remain sceptical then?
Well, I'm more in the camp of Kwasi Kwarteng here, the business minister, as to where I do think it's not only going to deter future investment in Britain as an energy sector, much like my concerns were about the uniform corporate tax rise stops you being cost competitive globally to encourage post-pandemic recovery. It's also the fact that the mantra that a lot of the proposers in Labour Party have trotted out is they've made record profits, therefore we can just sort of take some. And if they truly believe business is that greedy, and I'm willing to abide by it, that's fine, then that is going to be internalised as a cost down the road. That they're not going to just say, okay, we'll shave some off the top margin. So it's going to be factored in and could cause a price rise at the petrol pump, as soon as you turn your heater on, etc. I don't think it's going to allay the concerns long into the future. I think it's going to be a short-term measure that we're going to have to pay for eventually.
So your concern is based around future investment, although I think, was it not Shell who did say that despite that their profits, they would go with a windfall tax and they will still invest.
I do think they're going to factor it into the prices, though, eventually down the road. I don't think it's a long-term fix at all.
But a short-term fix for people who are struggling, though?
Well, I think the better short-term fix would to be adjust slash the cap, because we're in a sort of arms race between providers, payers and the government legislation, which can never seem to keep up. And then also do the promised VAT scrap. It makes me laugh that they campaigned on Brexit for this, and I was perfectly willing to back them, move towards national sovereignty, but they haven't followed through. And also there's a 25% green levy, for example. We're backing investment in another way for sort of forced social responsibilities as another tax, slash the sort of 60% that isn't going on wholesale gas costs. And that's going to help working families a hell of a lot more than the short-term windfall tax.
Well, we're going to get more analysis on this issue of the windfall tax in our business bulletin before 6 o'clock this morning. But it is making several of the front pages. You know, the newspaper, fuel bills decline by £800 as price cap rises again. The Guardian saying Sunak's cost of living scramble. You know, energy bills forecast to hit £2,800. But there is something else on the front pages this morning as well. And we're calling it Sue Gray Day. Is it going to happen? Is the report going to come out? Connor, what are you expecting?
I wouldn't be surprised if the report does come out. I just don't think it's going to be particularly explosive. Sue Gray Day is a bit of a damp squib at this point. It sort of feels like you had an argument the night before and you're waking up on your birthday and nobody wants to, make your breakfast and do a cup of tea. At this point, I think there's sort of three camps when it comes to Partygate, and you can tell me where you line up, Anna, a bit more specifically with this dichotomy. Lots of people want Boris gone, so they're going to be invested in the narrative. There's lots of people who don't want Boris gone, and so any declaration that Partygate might be a problem is called Boris bashing. I've heard that on other networks, believe me. And then there's a sort of third camp where I belong, I'm very disaffected with Partygate, not because I don't think it's important and I don't think people should be held to account, but because it's so endemic a rot at this point that I think the only solution is to throw a few hundred people out on their ear for participating in it, and I don't see that's going to happen. So I'm sort of resigned to the fact that it's the explosiveness, the fervour has gone from it, just because it doesn't seem like many people are going to get proper consequences.
Well, I think either way at the moment, I think there is a consensus that it is going to be an awkward, difficult day for Number 10 once that report comes out. Conor Tomlinson, thank you very much for joining us this morning, taking us through some of the headlines in the front pages. And